answering the calls. What is often put into contracts is how many GP appointments you can give for your registered population.
Do you keep call stats?
Yes, we do.
We
We can send them to Danny. I think we have set up.
And I'll make a video. Everything you send me, I'll make a video about.
We can send Danny the regular stats. So on a daily basis and at any given time, we can tell you how long people are waiting, how many times people have put the phone down before getting through. We can record calls, we can listen into calls, etc. We can start sending Danny
Please.
a weekly report in terms of our performance in the hub.
I'll be an ambassador. As long as it helps Jaywick and it helps you, that's what we want.
Yeah.
You young man, what can we say?
Going back to the locums, so would it be fair to say that when you get a locum in, you do it for an agency? So does it work the same as every other agency where you pay them a premium, so the doctor will earn more money, which is probably why they want to be a locum?
Yeah.
So and is it fair to say that if you're running, if you get judged every 12 months as a group, you wouldn't want to take on a doctor for a 5-year period, because if you lost your contract in 12 months, what do you do with the other 4 years? So I think it's going back to, I know that you say there's not enough doctors, and that's, I mean, if you're getting locums in and you're paying a premium for locums and you're getting freely, wouldn't it be better to be sort of honest about it and say, look, we only get 12-month contracts, so we can't have them here full time? Because that's probably more what it's down to.
If I first of all explain how the contract works, if we lost the contract, the commissioners would be have to find another provider. So all of the staff that are employed by ACE at the moment would what they call to be transferred over to the new provider. So no one would be made redundant. They would just go over to a new provider. And that's what happened when we took it on.
But the doctors earn more money through agency.
Yeah, so that's a different issue.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a different issue though. So in terms of losing the contract, so we're not reviewed annually. We are monitored on our performance every month with the commissioners.
Because it seems that the extra money you pay on your agency fees, you could put another 2 receptionists in answering the phones and you'd probably solve half the problem.
Yeah, but if we've got receptionists answering the phones and we haven't got doctors, where are these patients going to go?
That's the point, isn't it? You get doctors on long-term contracts.
We
saying you
have,
can't do it.
We do have
But
doctors on
as a doctor, if you're going to earn more money,
Yeah.
if someone's saying you'll get £200 a day extra if you become a locum, that's what you're going to do.
Yeah, so
And
if I can
think
just
the
answer,
system works.
so if I can just answer that little bit there. So we would absolutely prefer, as you all would, regular doctors, permanent doctors who are committed to living and working in this area, as we do, right? We can't recruit the doctors that we need, so we have to go to local agencies. What we have done over the past few years is worked with a local agency that will supply the doctors that we want and not charge us exorbitant fees, because obviously we've looked around and tested the market and we're not going to go to a very expensive local agency. What we've also done is had a direct relationship with a GP who doesn't want to be a permanent salary GP but wants to be a locum GP, like some of the doctors that Denise described there. We call them direct locums. So it's almost like a doctor being self-employed. Now they might cost more in terms of what we pay over, but we've got a good relationship with those doctors and they'll work in a way that a normal doctor would be.
So much more, yet your budget, I imagine if you started running this 10 years ago, I imagine your budget from then to now is probably quite reduced. So with what the constraints that I imagine you're working under from the austerity measures that have been put in place, it's almost like you're kind of throwing good money after you just throw it away, because people, the doctors are really saying to you, well, we can charge what we want.
Yeah, and that's
In
why
a sense, that's what they're doing.
and that's why we're not getting into those discussions in terms of, we've gone to a local agency that is going to be a fair price, give us the doctors that we want, but also have these direct locums, which is a lot cheaper. But we have to accept that the number of GPs are dwindling, and that's why we need to use the advanced nurse practitioners, the clinical pharmacists, all of these other people who can support know, lots of conditions that people are presenting with in primary care.
But if you had another phone line and one more receptionist, people would still be answered and told, okay, there's not a doctor available today, but you can see one tomorrow.
We've got more admin and reception staff now than we used to have a year ago.
Then something's seriously fault.
Yeah.
That's all we do, you know. If there's more people and more things, it's got to be handled.
So Martin was first. Martin works alongside the council. Martin, what question have you got, please, for Denise and Jane?
Ladies, I do appreciate what all the contributions you've given us. You've mentioned that you've seen some improvement in terms of the number of calls that have been responded to successfully. I'm just wondering if there's any amongst us in here who have actually experienced that they've managed to have their phone calls gone through and they haven't had any problems. Or is that all of us have just had problems getting
I
through?
don't think anybody's ever answering that phone.
No, I get hung up on weekly.
We'll provide.
I've had a positive experience, and I think he's one of the most decent call handlers. And in fact, I think they should stand our practice manager down and make her the top lady, and that's Susan Ors. She's the best call handler going. She's sympathetic, she's understanding, she gets the job done. More than I could say the lady sitting in the middle.
Well, everyone's trying. So let's just try and get it on. Right, so Martin, was that your question finished?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Okay, is it you next?
Yeah, I had a few more things. Like the gentleman was saying here, there is. I do actually think you need to at least give up one doctor and get more receptionists. It really would help you, or even volunteer phone answering people.
So we absolutely can't go down on the GPs that we've got because, you know, one could argue, you know, a lot of people.
I would honestly genuinely wait a week for a doctor if I'm really needing one.
Okay.
But do you know what, the one thing I find is when there's a more elderly, more vulnerable person than myself, I'd rather they take the appointment over me, but they're not prioritising the right people for the appointments. Oh, someone with a cough and a cold, what about someone with cancer? What about someone with, like say, period issues, quite severe ones, where they're bleeding through their clothes every day and no one's seeing them? There's women sitting at home, like I've seen in Jaywick, don't leave the house because they're too embarrassed to walk through the streets with parrot on their clothes. What about those people? I'm not being funny, I'd quite happily wait for someone else to be seen over myself.
Working class hero, we love it.
Do you know what? I would give up my appointment for somebody else.
Well done.
And do you know what? At the end of the day, I shouldn't be doing that. I should be seen as well. But do you know what? I prioritise everyone over myself.
Well done. Kevin, nice and clear, please.
Yeah, I'm not a patient of the green surgery because I belong up at Casella Park. Now, the longest I've been waiting on their phone is miraculously 5 minutes. Now, there's a lot of people in Jaywick that ain't got a lot of transport or even money for transport. Now, this might be stupid, but is there any way that the Jaywick people that are so caring and willing to give their patients wait on this phone line transport, but they ain't got cars or anything? Because there's elderly people that can't get from their own place to the surgery.
Maybe a minibus once a week, even for those people that can't get there.
So I think the answer to that is no. We would not be putting on transport for no surgery anywhere. We'll put that on. There is voluntary services transport. There is also patient transport services that are operated under the ambulance service.
Yeah, you've also got airline,
who've got needs to
time.
go to appointments, etc., etc. But no, the surgery would not be putting on transport for the patients.
So Kev, you're a great member of the Happy Club. Could you ask the ladies some questions that you feel about?
I'll ask a question actually.
We'd like to hear from you, Kev. Come and tell us.
What would you say for restrictions to be done?
Sorry, I didn't catch prescription.
How long does it take?
So we ask for up to 3 days for repeat prescriptions.
How come you're reception saying up to 3 weeks, 4 days, 3 weeks.
Sorry, who's?
4 days, 3 weeks for
So
reception.
you yourself have had that, have you?
Department.
Well, perhaps we can take that outside the meeting because we measure every week. We are monitoring.
See, I don't mind you having these meetings because I've got nothing against you people, right? But when you had your first meeting, and I'll be honest with you, you cut the story short, you said you didn't have doctors because no one wanted to work in Jaywick. No one wanted to work in the area. Now you haven't got doctors because the simple reason is like people are getting older. It's one excuse after. Do you know if you think about it, right? Well, it's the church. Let's put it that way, right? If you believed in God, you'd be called a blessed you right now because you told so many lies.
I think they still.
It's not a lie.
Do you still want to answer another
See,
question?
like the heart,
Just,
yeah, right?
just in terms
It's
of
just
doctors,
like-
so if I can just, I'll finish, I'll speak about the doctors. What we've said right from the very beginning, at the Gold Green meeting, at this meeting, when I came before, and it's a message that I'm saying constantly, is we are having difficulty recruiting to substantive GPs, as are many, many other practices in the country. And I've said it before, I've said the same message many times before.
Yeah, but last year you got more money, you got more money. But what do you do with it? What do you do with your leftover money at the end of the year?
We haven't got any leftover money when it comes
Last
to primary
year,
care
your first meeting, you said you donated to charity.
Yeah, but we don't have any leftover money from primary care services. We've
So Charles, what, they made sure you don't get extra money last year?
AIDS manages many other services. We're a not-for-profit organisation. We don't make a profit. If we make any surplus whatsoever as an organisation in relation to, I don't know, efficiencies of services, primary care is not one of them. I can guarantee you now, there is no surplus, no profit whatsoever in relation to primary care services. If we do make any sort of surplus, some of that goes into a charitable arm for to distribute into the community, but the majority of that goes back into services to improve services.
Would you admit you're making a huge mistake with the surgery? Something's not going right.
Yeah. Okay. We absolutely have taken on board everything you've said. We are absolutely committed to trying to improve it and make it better. Things have got better. I will share the information. I will share the performance indicators.
Well, you tell me
with
which way
Danny
you
to
think you
share.
can improve it, because we can tell you how to improve it too.
Yeah,
The thing is, we're not your enemies. Most of these people are your patients.
I know you're not, and
Most of these people are your patients.
and that's why I come here again tonight. And I've said to Danny, we'll be very happy to come as frequently as you want, because we need to hear what you're saying.
We'll work with them and try and get things right.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank
Ladies.
you.
Can I just say, you're accountable to somebody at the end of the year. You're accountable, aren't you? You've got to go back and tell them, we've done this, this and this. So, why don't they say, hold on a minute, this ain't working? What you were told to do, you're not doing. Because you're not, are you? You're not answering the phones like you should be. So what do you say to them people you're accountable to?
So,
And why haven't they sacked us because they're not working?
so as I've said, we meet with our commissioners every month. They are very cited on the performance of the service. They have, listened to what patients and public are telling them.
And how many
as
more
well.
times are they going to listen? And when are they going to do something?
I think that's a question you need to ask of the commissioners.
Actually, can we meet them?
Well,
Yeah, we'd
Danny,
all
I'm
love to, wouldn't we, guys?
Yeah,
Does
Danny,
it
I'm
actually
sure.
take someone to die because of your incompetence before there's a big investigation held?
That lady behind you, sir, didn't you, sir? That lady there?
The trouble is, when AIDS, they're never going to admit they got it wrong. That is the trouble.
Okay, and the man with the glasses?
Yeah, just a couple of things really. Since ACES sort of come on the scene and changed the things around creating a hub, how much is it costing to have that hub up off the Valley Bridge Road there? Would the money that you've put into that building, or ACES put into that building, just been left as it was and used in the area for the surgeries? Because that must be a a fantastic expense for you to take on that big building up there, it's like Fort Knox. You can't knock on the door, they won't let you in. You can't argue with them. Try it. You can't argue.
And sees everyone else doing it then.
So I might scale Fort Knox with you later.
You know? So that is costing you money.
So,
That is costing ACE a lot of money that wasn't there before.
right.
That's a
Buildings
new
don't-
expense for you.
Buildings ain't cheap, are
And
they?
the other thing is, just by coincidence, is it that since you've sort of switched over to this hub system and had a lot of upset patients, a lot of doctors have walked from Green Elms. Is that a coincidence? Yes.
So,
It's two
right,
things.
so first thing is, Kennedy House, the building where the hub
Yeah.
is not owned by ACE.
No.
We lease that,
Yeah.
and there are other services in there. So we've been in there as an organisation for the last 18 years. So we've got our community nursing services in there. We've got some health and wellbeing services in there. We've got what we call the community gateway, which is the referral service in there.
Sorry, I didn't realise that. I thought it was a new
yeah.
building for you.
No, it's not a new building. We don't own any buildings whatsoever.
No.
And you know, don't have to apologise. I think it's sometimes it's a misconception in terms of we don't own any building at all.
No.
We lease, you know, we rent our buildings, and we've been leasing Kennedy for many years, and there's lots of other services in there. In terms of the doctors that have left, and I did hear you say Dr. Skew. Dr. Skew was retiring anyway. We have lost one doctor from Green Elms who had left and come back, then left, and I think he came back a couple of times, and he decided ultimately he wanted to go for a number of reasons, one of which I'm sure is that he lived a great distance from this area.
Lovely. So can we have some more? John, you use surgery. What can you tell us about the surgery and how it's running? Anything you can tell us?
13 months ago, I went in medical detox.
Okay, tell us all about it.
And every 6 months I'm supposed to have a liver test.
Yes.
I've been had one for 9 months because I'm getting sick of phoning.
Okay.
I've even been into the surgery and they won't even make me phone in the surgery.
Okay.
You're not alone, John, and maybe there's a similar problem, honey.
You wouldn't need to phone for a blood test, apparently.
You can just go into the surgery for a blood test appointment.
Just go to the surgery for an appointment.
I'm waiting for a serious test to go to a specialist hospital in Cambridge. You people don't check your internal mail. They emailed it as urgent, and I had to phone you to request a blood test, but it's still not been done.
Okay. So John, at the end of the meeting, can you give your details to them and they will get back to you? Okay? Does anyone want to speak that hasn't spoken, please? While we've got the ladies here. Bye Dad, bye Sarah. Anyone like to speak to the ladies while they're here? No one? Anyone got anything to add? After you, Kate, and then this lady.
I was just thinking of what you were saying, about using the internet and everything else. What about the people that don't have access at all, and people around them that can accommodate and help with that?
So we have got someone, we do have some help from Tendring District Council who come into the surgery. It's only once a week at the moment. We're hoping to increase that. They bring like an iPad into the surgery that will be permanently placed in there eventually, but they're there to support anyone that wants to go online, so they'll help you to do it. The service is there.
Partially sighted.
Yeah.
Have a clue where to go.
No,
and there's other people in that position. I was just wondering.
So Tendring District Council are supporting us with that. And they come into the surgery weekly, and as I say, they've got a little iPad, and we will be having one permanently in the surgery. We've just got to find somewhere to place it, but they will support you.
That's brilliant, that is fantastic. I know it sounds silly, but couldn't there be a line for like elderly people, a special line just for the elderly people, so they're on the side?
That'd be a good idea as well.
Because like the lady down in front said, you give up your appointment every day, for somebody who's elderly or really ill or something like that. But the elderly people, they just don't bother calling because they don't feel they get it through. And they can't get out sometimes, and they can't make the walk up to the doctors or whatever. But, you know, wouldn't it be a little bit more soothing for the elderly people at least?
I mean, it's a difficult situation because we have got a huge majority, there is a big proportion of elderly people. So you almost are going to make the separate line will be the biggest used line, the main used line. Do you see where?
Yeah,
so at the moment, when
but
you
then
come
that
through,
free up space for the other line.
yeah, sorry. Just that you've got options when you phone through. So if someone is elderly, unwell, and based at home, they can't get out, they can request a home visit. That's if you're housebound.
Excuse
So
me,
you're
Captain Winstar's housebound. Twice we requested a home visit. They said no, and my friend there will tell you that because I ring her every day to tell them you're going shit over with your fucking surgery.
Can I calm down?
So
how about we get Danny and Donna to run a fucking surgery? How do you do that? You're going to fuck it up. We can have one and have breaks on the phone.
there's options on the telephone line. You know, if it is a medical emergency, if you require a home visit and you're housebound, there's also an option for care homes to get through quickly. We're trying to do these things to be able to do that. We're looking at lots of other ways. So online is one of them. We're looking at trying to make some appointments available online. We're doing everything we can to try and reduce what is going through to that main number.
Yeah, no, I don't dispute any of what you're saying.
No, it's just, just thinking.
This lady here quickly, then this one.
No, the lady answered
Oh yeah.
her question, which was mine.
Oh, it's been answered.
Yeah.
There's you.
I've got more.
Go for it.
It's just things that I'm thinking, and you're giving loads of direct answers, but you're not giving the key answers. You're just pushing them off in other directions.
Ask the key questions then.
The key questions are obviously there's elderly people that can't see so well, can't hear so well. They're not going to sit an hour, 2 hours on the phone, to wait for someone to call. They're from a different generation. The phone and the internet ain't working. At least offer them the appointments by letting them go into the surgery and say, look, we need help. Give them people at least the key chance to seek the help they need. Because I think there's about 50 elderly people within 4 roads from me and they don't see GPs at all. I think there's quite a few elderly ladies here tonight that need the assistance and they're like this lady with her grandmother. Give her the time of day. I don't know what she's done in her life yet, but she must have done something well to get to 90. Give her the time of day and get her to see a GP. Get her her appointments, get her her pills, get her what she needs, and all these other ladies, I'm sure they
How
have.
bad does it have to get before you revert back?
Death. That's where it's going.
How bad does it have to get? How long are we going to carry on asking you the same questions and you're giving us the same answers? Because they are the same answers from the last one.
Okay, we've got 5 minutes now of the meeting left. 5 minutes, we don't have any questions? 5 minutes, last questions? Is that everybody? There you go, come in, sir.
Yeah, I don't know a lot about it, but I've heard of patient participation groups. So apparently most GP surgeries, they encourage to have one of these, and they have got one, okay? But from what I've heard, a lot of people who've been to them, they felt like they said what they had to say, but then nothing happened. So, I mean, what I'd like to see is that if there was engagement, between the services and the GP and all the rest of the people, anyone who can, go to this group and actually set out, issues that need addressing, and they do become addressed. And there's like a time factor. The time is factored into it. So actually things are dealt with rather than like some people have been saying. They just get pushed away and they never get dealt with,
So we have at Green Elms we have a patient participation group that meets 2 monthly generally. at the surgery. We also have a joint meeting that all the surgeries, members of the groups come and meet at Kennedy House. We do that as well monthly. So there is a lot of work that's being done on your behalf by these people, and it's about working together, so we're supporting each other. Yes, they will bring issues, concerns that you've brought this evening, they will come, but they will also support us around the improvements as well.
But have the people, like the patients, got the power to actually get things addressed, so actually things get done? Because it's all right for taking it into consideration, but if a year down the line the same claims are being made that I'm away or I'm not getting the right treatment, then so it's good to communicating, but what power have the patients actually got? Because I think they should have power.
So as Denise described, what we want and encourage from the PPGs is that they come and work with us, and that's why we have the regular meetings. One of the things that you might not know, and I think it's important to know, and I will be sending the performance information to Danny, is what the PPG groups did. Some representatives from each of the PPG groups looked at that data. They came into the hub. They didn't obviously look at any patient information, but what they looked at is all of the statistics that we're putting together and just tested, actually, is that a reality? Are those figures true? And they were able to validate those figures and say, yes, the information that is being produced by ACE is accurate, it's coming off the system, and what they're saying in relation to call answering times, etc., is absolutely accurate. So yes, they do have a great influence actually in terms of what we do. They've advised us numerous times in terms of what types of messaging should be on the call, on the answer phone when you phone through. They've worked with us over the years on many things. And I would encourage, if anybody wants to be part of the PPGs to, get in touch, if, you don't know who to get in touch, again, go through Danny, we'll say...
I might go and join them.
Well,
how about that?
We will encourage you to do that. We will encourage you to do it.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you to Denise and Jane for coming here, and I'd like to say thank you to all of you in the room for asking all the questions, and I'd just like to ask Jane and Denise to finish on the fact is, if anyone's got any questions or any queries about the way things are run, what do they need to do? What's the best thing they can do?
I would encourage you to, if you don't, I don't want you to get inundated, but
No.
I think Danny is a really good conduit for us. So
I will tell you everything, you tell me, I'll tell you.
Yeah, and we're very happy to set up regular meetings if people want to get the messages through to you.
Okay.
If it's a very specific concern about your care, then you need to absolutely pick up the phone and speak to Denise, or put a letter into the practice if you don't feel that you want to do that. If we've got the most information that we've got in terms of helping you in your particular circumstances, we can't do that in an open forum like this because sometimes it's very specific to you. We need to look into your records and all the rest of it. But if it's general queries, you can get them through to Danny if you don't mind.
I don't mind.
We can meet regularly or more regularly if you want us to. That's absolutely fine.
I reckon once every 6 months until everything's happy, if you could come back and be our guest, I think we'd all appreciate that. Wouldn't we, everybody?
Yeah.
Well, do you want to just finish off?
I do have one more question. You talk about the big people, the ones that are above you guys. Is there any chance we could have a meeting with them as well?
You can certainly request it, and
I'm going to request it on everyone else's behalf, the people here in Jaywick.
I've got no influence in terms of whether they'll come or not, but I will.
But tell them they're invited because I'd like to meet them.
We can.
They're going to ask for you.
And maybe next time.
And they're welcome to come here.
We'll bring one of the commissioners down.
So how about that? Next time they have a meeting, they bring a commissioner with them, and they come to this meeting. Would that make everyone happy?
That would make us all happy, I think.
So we're going to work on that, yeah?
Yeah.
All right, we are going to work on bringing a commissioner to the next meeting with ACE. As soon as you can make that happen, we'll call a meeting. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, can we have a big... go on, sir.
I'll ask a quick question.
Go on then.
Yeah.
Did you say that if you're registered online, you can message ACE via your online account? Did you say it?
No, so there's two different online
I mean,
systems.
I've got an online
Sorry.
account.
Yes,
Okay,
so
where I can order my prescription.
yes.
Are you saying that I can message?
No,
Not
so
that.
so on the website,
On the website you can.
there's a separate website
Right.
which you can send a message.
Okay.
Yes, so
You
if you
have
go,
to
if you just
You have to
Google,
go to the general website.
so the surgery website, yes.
So, yeah, not your online. Not your
No, the online system is for prescriptions specifically.
What
It's
else?
it's got it contains your allergies and your summary care record, but it's not, you're not able to send a specific message.
But
It's a separate system.
If you've got an online account, apart from ordering your prescription, you can't do anything else, really. Can you?
No, it's specifically that online service is part of your clinical record.
That's right.
So we wouldn't have general messages
You can't
coming
make,
via that.
you can't make any appointments or do anything else except order a prescription.
No, that's right. At the moment, and as I said earlier, we're looking at being able to book online nursing appointments. We're looking at that at the moment.
So,
Nursing.
as a result of this meeting, we are going to call another meeting in the next few months when Jane and Denise can bring a commissioner to the meeting, and I will let you all know as soon as they let me know.
Yeah.
So I do think tonight has been a result. So can you please all give yourselves a round of applause for Jane and Denise? And thank you for making a difference. Shine on everybody. Thank you, Denise. And thank you, Jane. I have, yes. It's on my card here. That is my card. Email's there. Email's there. You've done very well. Thank you. Shine on. If you can bring a commissioner to the next meeting, that'll just silence all the critics. Thank you. Yes. Can you send me a personal message on Facebook so I don't text you? Thanks for your support. We will make a difference. Love you, Gary. All the people that want special help, come and talk to Denise and Jane right now. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going to get a commissioner here for the next meeting. What a wonderful meeting. The Jaywick Sands Happy Club, we will make a difference. And we love you, Jaywick. Shine on.